Hi guys, it's the Everyday Vegan here, and today I just made a cup of coffee rather, and I thought, hey, why not make a video for you lovely people? First of all, thank you so much, 700 subscribers. Who would have thought? I did it. So thank you for watching and subscribing. You guys are awesome. Secondly, it's a beautiful day. Can you see this? Sunlight. Yeah, this doesn't happen very often in England. No, that's a rumor. It's very nice sometimes, especially in Norwich, but there are no leaves left on the trees in this cold part of the world. And my garden is all shut down for the winter, so no more funny videos from my garden with my failed attempts at growing my own vegetables. Actually, I was quite successful for my first year, I thought. A few potatoes and a few carrots and such. Also, a big shout out to Cinepatu712. Did I say that right? Cinepatu712? A lady, by the looks of it, who is currently vegetarian but aspiring to convert to veganism, who guessed the series of books that my cats are named after. So well done for that. I did promise a big shout out. So I hope the conversion to veganism worked. So good luck with that. Please keep in touch. And can you believe it? This is the first video ever, I'm ashamed to admit, that I made notes for. But look, lots and lots of notes, so this stuff is getting serious. Anyway, it's a video that I cannot believe when I looked back that I have not yet done. And the title of this video, of course, is What It Means to Be Vegan. Lots of people probably know who watch this channel or have an idea, but I have noticed that I have more and more people watching this channel that don't know much about veganism or are vegetarians, aspiring to be vegan, and so on and so on and so on. Anyway, I have this big list and I'm probably gonna forget loads of stuff, so I'm gonna preempt that. Please don't get upset if I forgot something really important about veganism. You know my opinion, I do believe it's a sliding scale from not even eating meat one day a week to being a diehard, what are they called? Straight edge vegan or a breatharian or fruitarian or whatever you want to call it, a level 5 vegan. Now, the first thing I was gonna say is that this depends on definition anyway, so everybody will have a different definition of veganism. You should by now know what my definition is because you've been watching these videos for a while. But anyway, the main difference in my opinion between veganism and vegetarianism is that I consider one of them to be a diet and I consider the other, which is veganism of course, to be more of a lifestyle because it encompasses so many different things, at least if you want them to encompass those things. The main reason, of course, for most people, of being vegan has to do with eating things. So the things you can't eat or are not supposed to eat if you want to be a good vegan is animal flesh, of course. And I've also thought that I'll give a little explanation for why those things aren't vegan. And I'll keep that very short because we could talk about this for hours and we're already at 3 minutes. So animal flesh, of course, because yes, the animal dies in order to give us the flesh. Pretty straightforward, that one really. And that includes fish. Fish are animals. There's a lot of pescatarians out there that sort of put them into different categories. Who knows why? I've no idea. They say they do the vegetarian thing for the animals, but they eat fish. Don't really understand that. But anyway, each to their own. The next one, if you are vegan, is dairy, of course. And dairy is are things like cheese, yogurt, butter. A lot of things like lactic acid, for example, are a bit of a borderline one, I guess, because you can get that synthetically. So having a cup of tea with milk is one of those things that you can't do if you're vegan. Unless, of course, you use one of the millions of alternatives that are out there. So I use almond milk a lot. You can use rice milk, oat milk, soya milk is the big one, of course. And why no dairy? Because two reasons, really. Quickly. One of them, a logical reason, it's the breast milk of another species. Ew, I wouldn't go and drink some other human's breast milk, other than my mum's, of course, when I was a baby, let alone another species' breast milk, which is just weird. Anyway, the other reason, but of course, is the dairy industry, because I'm sure I've talked about this a million times, you can do the research yourself, but usually based around, at least in the big production companies, based around artificial insemination, which some would consider rape. And of course, the animal has to be pregnant to give milk, or at least for some of the time of its life, it has to be pregnant, then it gives milk for a while, then it has to be pregnant again. And of course, those baby cows, if they're female, they get kept and they look at the same fate that their parents are looking towards. If they're male, they can get sold off into veal production or they get killed. It's as simple as that. There's no, look this up, I'm not making this stuff up. Next one is eggs. Now, eggs is a funny one because there's always these scenarios where people go, well, what if you were stranded on a desert island with just one chicken and it laid eggs, there was nothing else to eat? Well, you know, I'd eat the chicken and I'd eat the eggs probably if I was stranded on an island, but I'm not stranded on an island. I live in the UK, which it's quite easy to be vegan. Anyway, the idea behind this is that it is still a product from an animal. It's actually their menstruation, which is in itself, going back to the breast milk, bit weird. But apart from that, it's the production of eggs on a large scale, you know, caged chickens. Loads of people know this from campaigns against KFC and stuff like that. Honey. Honey is a big one. Honey is an interesting one for me because I still eat honey, but I'm in doubt at the moment. I'm a honey agnostic. I'm sitting on the fence. I might go and not eat honey anymore, having looked into the conditions a bit more. Again, because of the way that honey is produced on a big scale, poor little bees get taken away all the stuff that they should be using to rear their young, especially these days with bees dying out, which is a big problem for all of us because they are responsible for vegetable production. White bee problem. That's the big one. Now, going back to veganism being more than a diet, of course you can't wear leather. So speaking of clothes, leather, I hope most of you know, is the skin of animals, pigs, sheep, and of course beef cattle in particular. The other thing is wool. Wool is an interesting one for me because I've actually sheared sheep before when I lived in Australia for a little while. So yeah, it's not pleasant for them at all, trust me. And whoever says it's good for them and blah blah blah, they've survived in nature without our involvement before being all woolly, so that's complete nonsense. Yes, and we have bred them to have more wool than normally, I understand that. Another one is glue. So glue, especially when you buy shoes. So I had to look around, I was looking around if I can see them now, but it doesn't matter. I struggled a little bit buying shoes the last time I wanted to buy shoes because very few of them are vegan, even if they use cotton or anything like that. The glue in them, glue is usually made from bones, like cow bones, horse bones. So that's not very pleasant at all. Now, the next one is cosmetics. Beware, girls. No, boys use cosmetics as well. The biggest one is, of course, animal testing in this. And that's very un-vegan, I guess, if they take a little bunny rabbit and put shampoo in its eyes just to see if it harms. So I think that's terrible. You know, with all the food labeling and all that, I still find one of the big things that we don't do in the Western world enough is to label whether or not the product was used in animal testing. So that's a big one for me. So please be aware, there's loads of websites around that tell you which products you can buy. The other one is cosmetics, especially makeup stuff. So shellac, am I saying this right? Shellac. It's something that usually is used in nail varnish, and it comes from a crushed up beetle. Yes, it's only an insect, still an animal, and we don't need it. You can nail varnish without crushed up beetles in it. But anyway, pharmaceuticals is another one. You know, a lot of them are tested on animals, of course. There is this big argument around greater good and all that. We've got pharmaceuticals that help loads of people and antibiotics and stuff. And if we didn't test them on animals, could we test them on humans? Blah, blah, blah. It's a big moral question. So as I said, I'm going into the territory now that is debatable. But a big one, sweets, gelatin. Yeah, so my favorite sweets, guys, Haribo gummy bears. Haven't eaten them since I've gone vegan. It's terrible. I feel really sad about that. But, you know, greater good and all that. Chocolate, traditionally, is vegan, of course. It's mainly cocoa and cocoa butter. Most chocolate these days, Cadbury's and Hershey's or whatever you guys eat, wherever you are in the world, Milka in Germany, is milk chocolate, of course. So lots and lots of dairy in there, which is not great, really. Alcohol is another one. You want to be careful with that because there are some substances. I've looked one up. It's called isinglass, and I've used the term a few times before, and I think it is from the bladders of fish, similar to collagen, a little substance that you use in the filtration process, especially for beer. I've got a friend who works for a big brewery. He actually confirmed that. Again, there's some really good websites. What's the one? Barnivore.com gives you some good hints. Like Becksphere, for example, is a beer that's completely vegan. You can go and drink in almost every pub in the UK sells Becksphere, so that's not difficult to avoid. And then this is now going into the territory of some vegans also do this. Yeast is, if you want to be technical about it, is a living organism. So are we going to stop baking or are we going to stop using yeast? Oh yeah, another one is paying for nothing non-vegan. So, you know, if you go to a restaurant, you want to invite your parents around or your friends, and then you're going to say, oh, I pay for everything except the stuff that's meat and stuff on the bill. You could do that, absolutely, but then you don't really want to be a social outcast. Well, I don't want to be a social outcast, and this is, you know, the everyday vegan channel, so I'm trying to be living a normal life while being vegan. But people can do that, and some people do. Then company boycott. I'm a big fan of doing, you know, voting with your feet and all of that stuff. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the press at the moment about tax avoidance, which of course is very important. Of course, there are other companies that are despicably non-vegan, and people boycott them, which I think is fair enough. Now, another thing, which is close to my heart, given that I am I was going to say owner, but that's nonsense. They own me, if anything, of Coco and Yum Yum. And some people raise their pets vegan, which I don't agree with. I want to be very honest, because they are actually by nature meant to eat meat, which is an argument that you cannot use for humans, I don't think. And cats, you may not know, are actually complete carnivores. You know, people would say, oh, we're carnivore, eat a lot of steak. Humans are omnivores, so we eat a lot of everything, and we can actually survive completely on a plant-based diet, which is what this whole channel is about, as you know. But cats are actually carnivores, so they only eat meat. I know you're gonna say they go and eat grass, and they do that sometimes to make themselves throw up. But classification-wise, they're carnivores. Interesting, I think. Like dinosaurs, T-Rex, carnivore. So I have little dinosaurs. That gives me no. Anyway, I don't agree with raising pets vegan. Also, last one I think on this list for now is entertainment. So going to places like SeaWorld. Big no-no. Watch some of the documentaries on Netflix if you don't know what's going on there, and if you think it's good for the animals, for SeaWorld to exist. Or a zoo in general. Think about it. Yeah, just think about what a zoo does. And yes, they do a lot of stuff for conservation, which is true. I'm not going to say that. Same with some of the game reserves in Africa. They do a lot of good, but they also do a lot of damage. Best thing would for us to just get out of the habitat of animals wherever we are. That would be good. And lastly, of course, and this is a big question for all of you guys. I really want you guys to comment on this and tell me all of your thoughts. I loved all the comments I got on the last video, hence my doing another vlog, because I get to interact with you, which is great. So first of all, what else do you think is vegan? Or what do you, out of the list that I gave today, what do you not consider vegan? Do you only see it as a diet? Do you see it as a lifestyle? And also, what do you think about the argument that I use a lot of time? What is better for the greater good? For example, when we go back to the buying leather shoes argument, for example. If I buy a pair of leather shoes, and I have them from before I went vegan, I haven't bought anything leather since, it's still around and it lasted me already 4 years and they look like brand new. I've bought a pair of Vans, I want to name the brand because they are very good shoes, but they're starting to fall apart, and I've bought them less than a year ago and they are vegan shoes. So what's better for the environment? What's better for habitats around the world? Me using cotton shoes, cotton production. Please look it up. It's horrendous what it does to the planet and especially to already dry areas. Or is it worth buying leather shoes once every 10 years and living with that? So I think that's a very interesting question. Anyway, I have talked way more than I wanted to talk in this video, but it was an important one. So what does it mean to be vegan in general? Good question, I think. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please keep getting in touch. I always reply, ask the people that have gotten in touch in the past. And I'm so interested in what you guys think and what you have to say, and generally for you to educate me and tell me new things or share recipes or share ideas or thoughts or anything around this topic. As always, be kind, be vegan, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Because you can get that synthetically as well. Did I say that right? Synthetically? Synthetically. Animals, pigs and sheep and of course beef cattle in particular. It's mainly beef leather actually, or pork, pigs, you know, pig leather. I've actually sheared sheep before. Shorn? I don't know, I'm a foreigner. I think sheared sheep, the term flexivore, not flexivore, flexitarian.